स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिसिद्धान्त सरस्वती निति नापिने श्रीवार्षवानवी देवी दयिताय कृपाब्धये कृष्णसम्बन्धविज्ञान दायिने प्रभवे नमः माधुर्योज्ज्वलप्रेमाढ्य श्रीरूपानुगभक्तिदा श्रीगौरकरुणाशक्ति विग्रहाय नमोऽस्तुते नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्तये दीनतारिणे रूपानुगविरुद्धाप सिद्धान्तध्वान्तहारिणे नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षाद्वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्बारसाम्बोधे आदाम्बुजायते नमः नमो भक्तिविनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामिने गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय रूपानुगावरायते गौराविर्भावभूमेस्त्वं निर्देष्टा सज्जनप्रियः वैष्णवः सार्वभौमः श्री जगन्नाथायते नमः वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धौ दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते जयतां सुरतोर्पङ्गुर्मामन्दमतेर्गति मत्सर्वस्वापदाम्भोजो राधामदनमोहनो दिव्यद्वृन्दारण्यकल्पद्रुमादः श्रीमद्रत्नागारसिंहासनस्थौ श्रीमद्राधा श्रीलगोविन्ददेवौ प्रश्रालिवे सेव्यमानो स्मरामि श्रीमान् रासरसारम्भि वंशीवटतटस्थितः कर्षं वेणो स्वनेर्गोपीर्गोपीनाथः श्रियस्तु नः तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरि वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So we are in the 33rd verse. Krishna's pastimes are being described in the Leela avatar. This is about the Ras Leela. Kridan vane nishakara rashmi gauryam rason mukakkalabadayat murchitena uddipta shatmarujam brajabhridunam hartur harishyati shiro dhanabhagudasya. Yes, read the translation.
When the Lord was engaged in his pastimes of the Rasa dance in the forest of Vrindavan, enlivening the sexual desires of the wives of the inhabitants of Vrindavan by sweet and melodious songs, a demon of the name Shankachuda, a rich follower of the treasurer of heaven, Kuvera, kidnapped the damsels, and the Lord severed his head from his trunk.
Now, Krishna's sweet pastimes are described in one verse, one pastime or two pastimes like that. Now all the pastimes of Krishna, especially Dwaraka pastimes and Mathura pastimes, they are summarized in just two verses. Ye cha pralambagaradvarutadheshyarishta malle bhagam sayavanaka pipaundarakya anye cha salva kujabalvalatanta vakra saptokta sambara vidurartha rukvimukya yeva mrude samitsalina ata chapa Kambojamacha kurusanja kalkayadya Yasyanti adrahanam alambala prartabhima Vyajavyena harina nalinyan.
All demoniac personalities like Pralamba, Dhenuka, Baka, Keshi, Arishta, Chanura and Mushtik, Kuvalya Pida, Elephant, Kamsa, Yavana, Narakasur and Pondrak, great marshals like Shalva, Dvivida monkey and Balvala, Dantavakra, the seven bulls, Shambara, Viduratha and Rukmi, as also great warriors like Kamboja, Matsya, Kuru, Srinjaya and Kekaya, would all fight vigorously either with the Lord Hari directly or with him under his names of Baldev, Arjuna, Bhima, etc. And the demons thus being killed would attain either the impersonal Brahmajyoti or his personal abode in the Vaikuntha planets.
Some attained Sauja Mukti, some came back to him. And Dantavakra went to Vaikuntha, whereas Dhenuka, Pralamba, they attained Sauja. And some were directly killed by Krishna, some were subdued by Krishna, some were killed by Balaram, somebody was killed by Arjuna and Bhima, like that. Kale namilita diyam avamrishyarinam stokayusham swanigamo batadurapara avirhitastvanu sahi satyavatyam vedadrumam vitapashu vibhasyatisma.
The Lord himself in his incarnation as the son of Satyavati, Vyasdev, will consider his compilation of the Vedic literature to be very difficult for the less intelligent persons with short life, and thus he will divide the tree of Vedic knowledge into different branches according to the circumstances of the particular age.
So now Vyasa has been described. Vyasa is Satyavati Sutta, Vyasam Vasishtanaptaram Shaktehe Potram Karmasham. So this Vyasa is described here. He could see in future people will not have proper memory. So he divided the one Veda into four and then he compiled the Vedic literatures. Then comes Buddha. Devadvisham nigamavartmani nishtitaham prubhermaena drishyatritbhir lokam gantam ati vimoha ati pralobham Vesham vidaya bhuvashyata aupadaryam.
When the atheists, after being well versed in the Vedic scientific knowledge, annihilate inhabitants of different planets, flying unseen in the sky on well-built rockets prepared by the great scientist Maya, the Lord will bewilder their minds by dressing himself attractively as Buddha and will preach on sub-religious principles.
So Buddha has been described. Buddha came to bewilder people who are there, demonic people who are thinking that Vedic literatures are meant to enjoy, and in this way those bewildered by Maya Danava, they were given some way by Buddha, atheistic philosophy. Yaryalayeshvapi satam naharer katasyu Ashandino dvijajana vishalanideva Swaha Swadha Swadhismagiro Nayatra Shasta Bhavishyati Kaler Bhagavan Yugante.
Thereafter, at the end of Kali Yuga, when there exist no topics on the subject of God, even at the residences of so-called saints and respectable gentlemen of the three higher castes, and when the power of government is transferred to the hands of ministers elected from the low-born Shudra class or those less than them, and when nothing is known of the techniques of sacrifice, even by word, at that time the Lord will appear as the supreme chastiser.
So Kalki is being described. How Kalki comes. And those who are low-born, like Shudras, they will take up the post. Next. Sarge tapoham rishayo navaye prachesha sthane tadharmamakamanvamana shricha ante tvadharmaharamanyuvash yuradhya maya vibhutyaima purushakti bhajaha. Now all the vibhutis are put together in one verse. Read the translation.
At the beginning of creation, there are penance, myself, Brahma, and the Prajapatis, the great sages who generate. Then, during the maintenance of the creation, there are Lord Vishnu, the demigods with controlling powers, and the kings of different planets. But at the end, there is irreligion, and then Lord Shiva and the atheists full of anger, etc. All of them are different representative manifestations of the energy of the supreme power, the Lord.
So these three Gunavatars, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesha, they are the Gunavatars of the Lord, controlling three modes of nature, and they are also nothing but the energy or the vibhutis of Krishna. Vishnu Navirya Gananam Katanorihat Katamor Atiha Yah Prartavyanyapi Kavir Vimane Rajamsi Chashkambayah Sarahmasya Triprushtham Yasmat Trisamya Sadana Ukam Yaman.
Who can describe completely the prowess of Vishnu? Even the scientists who might have counted the particles of the atoms of the universe cannot do so, because it is Vishnu only who in his form of Trivikrama moved his leg effortlessly beyond the topmost planet, Satyaloka, up to the neutral state of the three modes of material nature, and all were moved.
We cannot measure the Leelavatars of the Lord. An example is given. Can anybody measure the number of particles of dust on this earth? No, we cannot. So Vishnu, who took the foot and then the entire world, upper planet systems completely paralyzed. So that Vishnu, even the Devatas, they cannot find out how great is he. I want to speak of ordinary people. Nantam vidamyahamami unayor grajaste Maya balasya purushasya kuto varaye Gayan gunandasa sataran adideva Shesho napi samasyati asya param. What to speak of others? Even I. He says, Nantam vidyamam munayo. Even other great munis, like your elder brothers, Agraja, even they cannot know the glory of the Lord. And even Lord Shesha is still presently glorifying the Lord, but still has not come to a conclusion. Read.
Neither I nor all the sages born before you know fully the omnipotent personality of Godhead. So what can others who are born after us know about him? Even the first incarnation of the Lord, namely Shesha, has not been able to reach the limit of such knowledge, although he is describing the qualities of the Lord with 10,100 phrases.
Yesham sayesha bhagavan dhayayedananta sarvat anashrita pado yedini yalikam te dushtaram atitaranti cha deva maya naisham mamahamiti di swasrigala bhakshye. Read.
But anyone who is specifically favored by the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, due to unalloyed surrender unto the service of the Lord, can overcome the insurmountable ocean of illusion and can understand the Lord. But those who are attached to this body, which is meant to be eaten at the end by dogs and jackals, cannot do so.
So, how can you just realize God if you cannot even understand? So when he says yes, you can realize because of Bhagavan's, Krishna's mercy. Yesham Sayesha Bhagavan Dayayedananta. Because of Daya of the Lord, the devotees who are surrendered to Him. And what is the qualification? Nirvyali Kam. They should not have any attachment. They should be only attached to Krishna. Only they can, te dustaram atitaranti cha deva mayam. They cross over the deva maya, atitaranti. They cross over deva mayam. Naisham, those who are mamaham, they are caught up in this bodily concept like itidhi swa shrigala vakshe. What a word you use. My body, and his body is a family. This body is meant for the food for the dogs and the jackals. So they think the body is, I am this body, these bodies are mine. But these bodies are Shrigala, Swashrigala Bhakshe. Shwa means dog, Shrigala means jackal. That is why a very famous statement in the Upanishads, it says, Ayam Atma Parvachanena Labhyo Na Medasha Na Bhavna Shrutena Yam Yevaisha Vrunate Tena Labhya Tasyasya Atma Vrunate Tanum Swam. Krishna reveals himself, that person who, the devotee, whom he chooses. Yam Yevaisha Vrunate. Not by our intelligence, not by our bhavana shrutena, not by our learning we can attain Krishna. Okay. Vedāhamangavaramasya hi yogamayam yoyam bhavascha bhagavana taddaityavarya atne mayosacha mamuncha atmajascha prachina varbhi duranga Udadhruvascha Ikshvakurailamujukunda Videghadi Ragvambarisha Sagaragaya Anushedya Manand Anuranti Deva Deva Prato Baliramurtayato Didipaha Saurabhya Utkada Shaibhi Devalapipalada Sarasvatodhava Parasharabhurishena Yanye Vibhishana Hanumad Pendradatta Parthastitena Vidura Srutideva Varya. Who else know about the Lord? There's a list of sages given. Who have gone beyond this mamaham. And then Brahma says, I'm going to give you a list who have got the mercy of the Lord to know Him. Read.
O Narada, although the potencies of the Lord are unknowable and immeasurable, still, because we are all surrendered souls, we know how He acts through Yogamaya potencies. And similarly, the potencies of the Lord are also known to the all-powerful Shiva, the great king of the atheist family, namely Prahlad Maharaj, Swayambhu Manu, his wife Shatarupa, his sons and daughters like Priyavrata, Uttanapad, Akuti, Devahuti and Prasuti, Prachina Barhi, Rubhu, Anga, the father of Veena, Maharaj Dhruva, Ikshvaku, Aila, Muchukunda, Maharaj Janaka, Gadi Raghu, Ambarisha, Sagar, Gaya, Nahusha, Mandhata, Alarka, Shatadhanve, Anu, Rantidev, Bhishma, Bali, Amur Traya, Dilipa, Saubhari, Utanka, Shibi, Devala, Pippalada, Sarasvata, Uddhava, Parashar, Bhurishena, Vibhishana, Hanuman, Shukdev Goswami, Arjun, Ashtishena, Vidura, Shrutadeva, etc.
Some others are included. but they are not addressed as Mahajana. When you say Mahajana, Mahajanena Patasuganta, Mahajana means that this is mentioned. It is not that the only Mahajanas know about Krishna, but others who know about Krishna, they cannot be addressed as Mahajan. Already defined 12 Mahajanas are there. Te vai vidantyati daranti cha deva mayam Shri Shudrahona Sabara Pipa Pajiva Yadyat Buddhagarma Varayana Shila Sikshas Triyajjana Vikimusuta Dharanaye. Even those who are in the low-born families, as they have realized Krishna, because of the mercy of the Supreme Lord received because they surrendered to Him. Please read.
Surrendered souls, even from group leading sinful lives, such as women, the laborer class, the mountaineers, and the Shabaras, or even the birds and beasts, can also know about the signs of Godhead and become liberated from the clutches of the illusory energy by surrendering unto the pure devotees of the Lord and by following in their footsteps in devotional service.
Then if that is the case, what to speak of Kimu Shruta Dharanaye? What to speak of those who have taken human form and surrendered to a spiritual master, and they have heard Shruta, heard about the Supreme Lord, or hearing from the spiritual master. What to speak about them? Shashvat Prashantam Abhayam Pratibodhamatram Shuddham Samam Cha Sadasa Tatparamatma Tattvam Shabdo Nayatra Burukartavam Kriyartho Maya Ritya Vimuke Cha Vilajjamana Tadvai Padam Bhagavata Paramasya Pumso Brahmeti Yat Vidur Ajasasukam Vivukshokam. Paramatma and Brahma Tattva. Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. You know these three. Yeah, just because of some fault in some rishi, that cannot be his lifelong trait. He cannot stamp. The problem in Shaubari was he did Vaishnava Prad. When you don't recognize the greatness of Vaishnava, then you automatically end up into an offense. Then he thought, why Garuda is not eating non-veg? Why Garuda is eating non-veg? So then gone. I know one devotee, very nice, very strong preacher and all. So we were there in temple in Udupi. So then he made a comment. There was a very great one scholar, devotee, Madhva scholar. But in Central, generally South Indian people drink tea. They drink coffee. Isn't it? He was drinking coffee. So he made a comment. Like, Hare, see, they drink coffee. So then after 2 days, he was so thirsty, he had to drink some cool drink. Black color cool drink, thumbs up or something like that. He was forced. He was traveling with me. Then I told him, what are you doing now? Then I told him the story of Shaubari Muni. Garuda, he came and ate fishes. What it has got to do with you? You do your bhajan. If you get into somebody's bhajan, then you lose your bhajan. So that is what happened with Shaubari Muni. Okay. Yeah, read the purport, the translation.
What is realized as the absolute Brahman is full of unlimited bliss without grief. That is certainly the ultimate phase of the Supreme Enjoyer, the personality of Godhead. He is eternally void of all disturbances and fearless. He is complete consciousness as opposed to matter. Uncontaminated and without distinctions, he is the principle of the primeval cause of all causes and effects, in whom there is no sacrifice for fruitive activities, and before whom the illusory energy, being ashamed, does not stand.
So, we have Shashwat Prashantam Abhayam Pratibodhamatram Shuddham Samam Sad Asataha Paramatma Tattvam. Paramatma is Sad Asataha. He is there in everybody's heart. In the higher species also he is there in everybody's heart. In the lower species also he is there in everybody's heart. And what are the things which he gives on realization of the Paramatma? What he attains? Prashantam, Abhayam, Pratibodhamatram, Shuddham, Samam. All these qualities are attained. Like we have in the Bhagavad Gita that what is that? Prashanta. Paramatma samahitaha. Jitatmanaha prashantasya paramatma samahitaha. So then Brahman is described. How the Brahman is described in the next few lines. Shabdo nayatra burukartayam kriyartho maya pareti abhimuke sa vilajjamana. So what is Maya doing? Out of vilajjamana means being ashamed, she takes, she doesn't come in front of the Lord. That is Maya, vilajjamana. Tadvai padam bhagavataha paramasya pumso. So that is the position of Bhagavan. And then Brahmeti yad vidur ajarasya sau sukham vimoksham. And what is this Brahman? Brahman is a place which is beyond the modes of nature. So, in general, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, all the things are summarized in this particular verse. Sratyaniya maya yatato yam karta hetim Jahyushvarattiva nipana katritam indra. No, this is a simple verse. Yeah. Those who are worshipping Brahman and Paramatma, what is their gati is described. Read the translation. Of Paramatmavadis and Brahmavadis, it becomes insignificant for them because Indra is too great for him digging well and small things. It's a small work for him. Like that, for those who are in the very high stage of consciousness like devotees, they don't have to do the practices of Brahmavadis and Paramatmavadis. Okay. Sashreyasamapi vidur bhagavan yathosya bhavasvabhava vihitasya shata prasiddhi dehe swadhatu vigamenu srijyamane vyapuna tatra purusho shushtyatejya. That is why Brahman and Paramatma we don't have to worship, and Bhagavan, he actually bestows all the things which are there required for a devotee. The devotee did not take up any other practice of jnana and yoga, because from Bhagavan himself, sa shreyasamapi, sa means Bhagavan, shreyasam vidur Bhagavan yatosya. So all the shreyas it attained by him. So living in a team, you need not be carried away by other processes. Read the translation.
The personality of Godhead is the supreme master of everything auspicious, because the results of whatever actions are performed by the living being in either the material or spiritual existence are awarded by the Lord. As such, He is the ultimate benefactor. Every individual living entity is unborn, and therefore, even after the annihilation of the material elementary body, the living entity exists, exactly like the sky within the body. Exactly like the air within the body.
It is the ether. What is it? Vyomeva tatra purusho. See, vyom is what? Sky. What is there? Sky means ether. Prithvi, Jal, Agni, Vayu, Akash. Is in Sanskrit is Bhumir, Apo, Analo, Vayu, Kam. Kam is ether. Sky is not air. It is sky or ether. Vyomena tatra purusho navishchati. So what happens? Akasha is always there. In the same way, the jnanis and karmis, jnana and karma is dependent on bhakti. Jnanis and karmis, they are dependent on Bhagavan for their result. Whereas the devotee is not dependent on any other process of sadhana. Okay. Soyam te abhitastata Bhagavan Vishwabhavanaha Samasena Hare Nanyad Anyasma Sadachayat. So, oh Tata, my dear Narada, so Saha Aham, myself, Te Abhihita, unto you, Abhihita, I have spoken, Bhagavan Vishwabhavanaha, I have spoken to you about Bhagavan, who is Vishwabhavana, who maintains everyone, who creates devotion towards himself in the heart of everyone. How did I explain? Samasena Hare. Samasena. How? Summary. Samasena. About what? About whom? Harer Nanyat Asya. Anyasmat Sadasat Chayat. About the Lord and the universe and the living entity. But when I describe about the Lord and the living and the universe, I described in connection with Hari. Okay? Please read the translation.
My dear son, I have now explained in brief the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is creator of the manifested worlds. Without him, Hari, the Lord, there are no other causes of the phenomenal and nominal existences.
Means phenomenal and nominal existence. Sat, asat. Read the purport.
Since we generally have the experience of the temporary material world and conditioned souls trying to lord it over the material worlds, Brahmaji explained to Narad Dev that this temporary world is the work of the external potency of the Lord, and that the conditioned souls struggling here for existence are marginal potency of the Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead. There is no cause for all these phenomenal activities but Him, Hari, the Supreme Lord, who is the primeval cause of all causes. This does not mean, however, that the Lord Himself is distributed impersonally. He is aloof from all these interactions of the external and marginal potencies. In the Bhagavad Gita 9.4, it is confirmed that by His potencies alone He is present everywhere and anywhere. Everything that is manifested rests on His potency only, but He, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is always aloof from everything. The potency and the potent are simultaneously one and different from one another. One should not deprecate the Supreme Lord for the creation of this material world, just as one should not blame the king for creating a prison house in the government. The prison house is a necessary institution of the governmental establishment for those who are disobedient to the laws of the government. Similarly, this material world, full of miseries, is a temporary creation of the Lord for those who have forgotten Him and are trying to lord it over the false manifestation. He, however, is always anxious to get the fallen souls back home, back to Godhead, and for this He has given so many chances to the conditioned souls via the authoritative scriptures, His representatives, and personal incarnations also. Since He has no direct attachment to this material world, He is not to be blamed for its creation.
Idam bhagavatam nama ya enme bhagavatoditam sangrahoyam vibhutinam tvametat vipluikuru. Now I told you, Narada, all whatever I have to tell you, especially I spoke to you Bhagavatam. This Bhagavatam was spoken by whom? Bhagavatoditam. Bhagavatoditam. Bhagavatam, Bhagavatoditam. This Bhagavatam was spoken by Bhagavan himself to you and explained to you. Sangraha means in essential form. Now what you are supposed to do? Tvam etad vipuli kuru. You expand and distribute it everywhere. That is what is Narada's work. Service to Narada. And I explained it to you. And what is this Bhagavata all about? Vibhuti Nam. It is the collection of Lord's vibhutis. Wherever, whichever place in the scriptures, wherever you find the vibhutis of the Lord, spiritual and material both, I have collected and put it in the Bhagavatam. Read the translation.
O Narada, this science of God, Srimad Bhagavatam, was spoken to me in summary by the
Bhaktir bhavishyati sarvatmanya dhare iti sankalpya varnaya. Now you take sankalpa that you are going to speak Bhagavatam. How you are going to speak Bhagavatam? Yata haror bhagavati nrinam bhaktir bhavishyati. You should speak Bhagavatam in such a way that in the heart of the devotees there should be bhakti. Bhakti should arise in their heart. Like so many Bhagavad Kathas are they go on, but we don't find people becoming devotees. Isn't it? Once I did a Katha in Bilwada. One very elderly person had come. Generally, before you start the Bhagavatam, they call the prominent people in the city and then they try to make them welcome the speaker. And they just go. They put the garland and then go. They just come for that. So then he sat they sit for 5 minutes for the sake of sitting. He was sitting and he sat for the entire class. I was not knowing he came for that purpose only. He just came to garland. After the class, he came and told me that, I came just to garland you and just sit for 5 minutes, but I liked, because somebody gave me a paper, because I generally give the paper with all the slokas printed. Then he told, my father, when he left his body, he told me that, because we have got a good business, he told to organize 108 Bhagavad Kathas. His father had told him, and he told, last year I completed organizing 108 Bhagavad Kathas. I called big speakers. I organized Bhagavad Katha with thousands of people in Haridwar, in all the 4 dhams, many places I have organized. He told Swamiji, one thing, today I attended, first time I read a verse from Bhagavatam. अच्छा लग रहा था तो ये क्या भागवत का है क्या सब? I told yes, eternal skand and all. Told very good. Then he told me, today I came to know that Krishna is God. Then I told, that is the problem, no? You just go on organizing, but you never heard. No. Every katha which I organized, I heard completely. Yes. Friend, सामने बैठ के सुनता था, आज पता लगा कृष्ण भगवान है. See, I don't know what they spoke. And he just did not call some ordinary people. He called big stars, all Bapus and all there. He paid lakhs of rupees to them and then he called. But he was convinced that first time he came to know Krishna is God. So, yatha haror bhagavati nunam bhaktir bhavishyati. So in this way you should speak Bhagavatam. Sarvatmyam akiladhare. Now who is that Hari? Who is Sarvatmani. Who is there in everybody's heart. Not only that, he is Akiladhare. He is the source or the resort, shelter of everyone. Iti sankalpya varnaya. Now you take sankalpa that I will do it. Especially in the age of Kali. Read.
Please describe the signs of Godhead with determination and in a manner by which it will be quite possible for the human being to develop transcendental devotional service unto the personality of Godhead Hari, the super soul of every living being, and the Samman Bhomanam, source of all energies.
Sankalpa. What do you, before you do any program, you have sankalpa, or yajna, you take sankalpa. So now Brahma says, Narada, I give instruction to you, but you don't say, okay, tomorrow onwards I'll think about it, I'll plan. No. In front of me you take sankalpa. Like when you do the fundraising program, what do you say? This is what is our program. I request all of you to give some money. No. You say, how many of you are going to give now? Announce now itself. Then only it is fruitful, otherwise they go. Read the purport also.
Srimad Bhagavatam is the philosophy of devotional service and the scientific presentation of man's relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prior to the age of Kali, there was no need for such a book of knowledge to know the Lord and His potential energies. But with the beginning of the age of Kali, human society gradually became influenced by the four sinful principles, namely illegitimate connection with women, intoxication, gambling, and unnecessary killing of animals. Because of these basic sinful acts, man gradually became forgetful of his relation with God. Therefore, man became blind, so to speak, to his ultimate goal of life. The ultimate goal of life is not to pass a life of irresponsibility like the animals and indulge in a polished way in the four animal principles, namely eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. For such a blind human society in the darkness of ignorance, Srimad Bhagavatam is the torchlight to see things in proper perspective. Therefore, it was necessary to describe the signs of God from the very beginning or from the very birth of the phenomenal world. As we have already explained, Srimad Bhagavatam is so scientifically presented that any sincere student of this great science will be able to understand the signs of God simply by reading it with attention or simply by regularly hearing it from a bona fide speaker. Everyone is hankering after happiness in life, but in this age, the members of human society, blind as they are, do not have the proper vision that the personality of Godhead is the reservoir of all happiness, because He is the ultimate source of everything. Janmadhyasya. Happiness in complete perfection, without hindrance, can be achieved only by our devotional relationship with Him. And it is only by His association that we can get free of the distressful material existence. Even those who are after the enjoyment of this material world can also take shelter of the great science of Srimad Bhagavatam, and they will be successful at the end. Narada is therefore requested or ordered by his spiritual master to present this science with determination and in good plan. Narada was never advised to preach the principle of Bhagavatam to earn a livelihood. He was ordered by his spiritual master to take the matter very seriously in a missionary spirit.
Okay, last verse. Mayam marnayato mushya ishwarasya namodataha shrunvata shraddhaya nityam mayayatmana muhyati. So I spoke about this verse before because Krishna has pastimes with his spiritual potency, that is Chit Shakti, and his Achit Shakti. The pastimes of Krishna with Achit Shakti are known as Purusha avatars. So Krishna has got Leela avatars and Purusha avatars. Leela avatars are pastimes of the spiritual energy. Purusha avatars are the pastimes of Krishna with the material energy. Somebody may ask, what about, why we should hear about Krishna's pastimes with the material energy? Why we should hear about? Because by we hearing about Krishna's pastimes with Maya, material energy, then we will not be bewildered by Maya. So that is the purpose. So read the translation and purport.
The Lord's activities in association with his different energies should be described, appreciated and heard in accordance with the teachings of the Supreme Lord. If this is done regularly with devotion and respect, one is sure to get out of the illusory energy of the Lord. Purport. The science of learning a subject matter seriously is different from the sentiments of fanatics. Fanatics or fools may consider the Lord's activities in relation with the external energy to be useless for them, and they may falsely claim to be higher participants in the internal energy of the Lord. But factually, the Lord's activities in relation with the external energy and the internal energy are equally good. On the other hand, those who are not completely free from the clutches of the Lord's external energy should devoutly hear regularly about the activities of the Lord in relation with the external energy. They should not foolishly jump up to the activities of the internal energy, falsely attracted by the Lord's internal potential activities like his Ras Leela. The chief reciters of the Bhagavatam are very much enthusiastic about the Lord's internal potential activities, and the pseudo-devotees, absorbed in material sense enjoyment, falsely jump to the stage of liberated souls and thus fall down deeply into the clutches of external energy. Some of them think that to hear about the pastimes of the Lord means to hear about his activities with the gopis or about his pastimes like lifting the Govardhan hill, and they have nothing to do with the Lord's plenary expansions as the Purusha avatars and their pastimes of the creation, maintenance or annihilation of the material worlds. But a pure devotee knows that there is no difference between the pastimes of the Lord either in Ras Leela or in creation, maintenance or destructions of the material world. Rather, the descriptions of such activities of the Lord as the Purusha avatars are specifically meant for persons who are in the clutches of the external energy. Topics like Ras Leela are meant for the liberated souls and not for the conditioned souls. The conditioned souls therefore must hear with appreciation and devotion the Lord's pastimes in relationship with the external energy. And such acts are as good as the hearing of Ras Leela in the liberated stage. A conditioned soul should not imitate the activities of liberated souls. Lord Sri Chaitanya never indulged in hearing the Ras Leela with ordinary men. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Science of God, the first 9 cantos prepare the ground for hearing the 10th canto. This will be further explained in the last chapter of this canto. In the 3rd canto, it will be more explicit. A pure devotee of the Lord, therefore, must begin reading or hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from the very beginning and not from the 10th canto. We have several times been requested by some so-called devotees to take up the 10th canto immediately, but we have refrained from such an action because we wish to present Srimad Bhagavatam as a science of Godhead and not as a sensuous understanding for the conditioned souls. This is forbidden by such authorities as Sri Brahmaji. By reading and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam as a scientific presentation, the conditioned souls will gradually be promoted to the higher status of transcendental knowledge after being freed from the illusory energy based on sense enjoyment.
So, Lord's pastimes with Maya is not Maya. Krishna's pastimes with Maya is not Maya. Whether our time pass with Maya is Maya. Krishna's pastime and how was his time pass. Okay, next chapter, 8th chapter. Now Parikshit Maharaj is going to ask further questions to Sukadeva Goswami. Brahmana jodito brahman gunakhyane gunasya cha yasmai tata praha narado deva darshana. So, Rajovacha, Parikshit Maharaj is asking, Brahmana chodito Brahman, O Brahmana, O Sukadeva Goswami. Now, Brahman gunakhyane gunasya cha yasmai yatha praha narado deva darshanaha. Narada, he came to know about the truth. And he was taught by Brahma. So, yasmai yata praha narado devadarshana. Whatever was spoken to Narada, I want to know more about it. So that is what is Parikshit Maharaj asking. Read the translation.
King Parikshit inquired from Shukadeva Goswami, how did Narad Muni, whose hearers are as fortunate as those instructed by Lord Brahma, explain the transcendental qualities of the Lord, who is without material qualities, and before whom did he speak?
Edat veditamichami tattvam tattvavidambaraha hareradbhudaviryasya kataloka samangala. Read the translation.
The king said, I wish to know narrations concerning the Lord, who possesses wonderful potencies, are certainly auspicious for living beings in all planets.
Next. Katayasva mahabhaga yataham agilatmani krishne niveshat sangam manastyakshe kalevaram. So go on speaking about Krishna, because I can absorb my mind. Because I am going to give up my body. Kalevaram, takshye kalevaram, nisangam manasa, niveshya, Krishna niveshya. Let my mind be engrossed in Krishna and remove my mind from absorption of other things, especially when I am going to die. So, who is that Krishna? Akilatmani. Read the translation.
O greatly fortunate Shukadeva Goswami, please continue narrating Srimad Bhagavatam so that I can place my mind upon the supreme soul, Lord Krishna, and being completely freed from material qualities, thus relinquish this body.
So Parikshit Maharaj is showing his enthusiasm to remove all his absorption of mind in other things and put his absorption in Krishna. Now comes a famous word. Srinmata Shraddhaya Nityam Krantasva Swacheshchitam Kalena Nadit Irgena Bhagavan Vishate Hridi. But somebody is hearing about Krishna. Srinmataha Shraddhaya Nityam, with great faith. Now what happens? He doesn't have to do much work. Because Krishna, he runs and comes and sits in the heart of a devotee. Kale natidirgena bhagavan vishate hridi. Natidirgena, immediately he comes and then sits in the heart of a devotee. Read it.
Persons who hear Srimad Bhagavatam regularly and are always taking the matter very seriously will have the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna manifested in their hearts within a short time.
So those who are hearing and chanting, with great sincerity, Krishna comes and sits in their heart. Ahuta ihame shigram. When you chant the name of Krishna, Krishna, he comes and sits in your heart as if he's invited. As if he's invited. Do you go to a place where you're not invited? When do you go to a place when you are not invited? When you're shameless. When you're shameless, you go to a place where you're not invited. Somebody is getting married, you go to there. Are you very hungry? Are you shameless? So Krishna, he enters the heart of a devotee. Even though he is not invited, he goes there as if he is invited. That is his nature. Now, pravishataha karnarandrena svanam bhava sururuham dunoti samalam krishnaha salilasya yatha sharat. Salilasya yatha sharat. In the Sharat Rutu, water is very pure, clear. The same way Krishna, Pravishat, he enters. Karnarandrena. Svanam bhava saroruham. He enters the heart through the ears. There the Hridaya Kamala, he enters there, saroruham. And then dunoti samalam. If there is any dirt there, he dunoti. Read the translation.
The sound incarnation of Lord Shri Krishna, the Supreme Soul, that is Srimad Bhagavatam, enters into the heart of a self-realized devotee, sits on the lotus flower of his loving relationship, and thus cleanses the dust of mortal association, such as lust, anger, and hankering. Thus it acts like autumnal rains upon pools of muddy water.
Then what about jnana and karma? They also purify. They don't purify to the extent bhakti purifies. This is the purport.
It is said that a single pure devotee of the Lord can deliver all fallen souls of the world. Thus, one who is actually in the confidence of a pure devotee like Narada or Shukdev Goswami, and thus is empowered by one spiritual master, as Narada was by Brahmaji, can not only deliver himself from the clutches of Maya or illusion, but can deliver the whole world by his pure and empowered devotional strength. The comparison to the autumnal rain that falls on muddy reservoirs of water is very appropriate. During the rainy season, all the waters of the rivers become muddy. But in the month of July-August, the autumn season, when there is a slight rainfall, the muddy waters of the rivers are all over the world. The muddy waters of the rivers all over the world become at once clear. By addition of some chemical, a small reservoir of water like that of a metropolitan waterworks tank can be cleared, but by such a tiny effort, it is not possible to clear up all the reservoirs of water like the rivers. A powerful pure devotee of the Lord, however, can deliver not only his personal self, but also many others in his association. In other words, the cleansing of the polluted heart by other methods like the culture of empiric knowledge or mystic gymnastics can simply cleanse one's own heart. But devotional service to the Lord is so powerful that it can cleanse the hearts of the people in general by the devotional service of the pure empowered devotee. A true representative of the Lord like Narada, Shukdev Goswami, Lord Chaitanya, the six Goswamis, and later Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, etc., can deliver all people by their empowered devotional service. By sincere efforts to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, one realizes his constitutional relationship with the Lord in the transcendental humor of servitude, friendship, paternal affection, or conjugal love. And by such self-realization, one becomes situated at once in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Not only were all the pure devotees like Narada self-realized souls, but they were engaged in preaching work automatically by spiritual impetus, and thus they delivered many poor souls entangled in the material modes. They became so powerful because they sincerely followed the Bhagavatam principles by regularly hearing and worshipping. By such actions, the accumulated material lusts, etc., become cleansed by the personal endeavor of the Lord within the heart. The Lord is always within the heart of the living being, but he becomes manifested by one's devotional service. Purification of the heart by culture of knowledge or mystic yoga may be all right for the time being for an individual person, but it is like the cleansing of a small quantity of stagnant water by chemical processes. Such clarification of water may stand for the time being and sediments settle down, but by a slight agitation, everything becomes muddy. The idea is that devotional service to the Lord is the only method of cleansing the heart for good, whereas the other methods may be superficially good for the time being. There is a risk of becoming muddy again due to agitation of the mind. Devotional service to the Lord with specific attention for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam regularly and always is the best recommended method for liberation from the clutches of illusion.
So after describing the glory of Krishna purifying the heart of an impure person, now talks about the person who is pure. Dautatma Purusha Krishna Padamulam Namuchati Mukta Sarva Pariklesha Antaha Swasharanam Yat. Somebody say, my heart is pure, I don't require to hear about Krishna anymore. Acha. Listen to about a symptom of a person who is purified in heart. What does he do? Dhautatma Purushaha, the person who is pure, with a pure heart, Krishnapadam namuchati. He will never give up the lotus feet of Krishna. Isn't it? So, Mukta Sarva Parikleshaha Antaha Swa Sharanam Yatha. An example is given. Antaha Swa Sharanam Yatha. A person who has traveled from a long distance, now he has earned lot of wealth. He has earned a lot of wealth and he came to his house. When he comes to his house, he will not give up his house. Isn't it? In spite of he having lot of wealth, he will not give up his house. In the same way, a person who is very much purified also will not give up the lotus feet of Krishna. Just because he became purified doesn't mean that he will give up the lotus feet of Krishna. Read.
A pure devotee of the Lord whose heart has once been cleansed by the process of devotional service never relinquishes the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, for they fully satisfy him, as a traveler is satisfied at home after a troubled journey.
Purport also.
One who is not a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord Krishna is not completely cleansed in the heart, but a perfectly cleansed person never quits the devotional service of the Lord. In discharging such devotional service, as ordered by Brahmaji to Narada, in the preaching of Srimad Bhagavatam, sometimes a representative of the Lord engaged in preaching work meets various so-called difficulties. This was exhibited by Lord Nityananda when he delivered the two fallen souls, Jagai and Madai, and similarly, Lord Jesus Christ was crucified by the non-believers. But such difficulties are very gladly suffered by the devotees in preaching, because in such activities, although apparently very severe, the devotees of the Lord feel transcendental pleasure because the Lord is satisfied. Prahlad Maharaj suffered greatly, but still he never forgot the lotus feet of the Lord. This is because a pure devotee of the Lord is so purified in his heart that he cannot leave the shelter of Lord Krishna in any circumstances. There is no self-interest in such service. The progress of culturing knowledge by the Gyanis or the bodily gymnastics by the yogis are ultimately given up by the respective performers. But a devotee of the Lord cannot give up the service of the Lord, for he is ordered by his spiritual master. Pure devotees like Narada and Nityanand Prabhu take up the order of the spiritual master as the sustenance of life. They do not mind what becomes of the future of their lives. They take the matter very seriously, as the order comes from the higher authority, from the representative of the Lord, or from the Lord himself. The example set herein is very appropriate. A traveler leaves home to search for wealth in far distant places, sometimes in the forest and sometimes in the oceans and sometimes on hilltops. Certainly, there are many troubles for the traveler when he is in such unknown places, but all such troubles are at once mitigated as soon as the sense of his family affection is remembered. And as soon as he returns home, he forgets all such troubles on the way. A pure devotee of the Lord is exactly in a family tie with the Lord, and therefore he is undeterred in discharging his duty in a full affectionate tie with the Lord.
Now starts the questions by Parishit Maharaj. Yad tau mato brahman deharambosya dhatubhihi yadrichaya hetuna va bhavanto jnate yatha. Yad adhatumato brahman Dhatumato Brahman Deharambhosya Dhatubhihi. Deharambhosya Dhatubhihi. Now please explain to me that how the Jiva he gets the body which is made up of dhatus, which is made up of elements. Now he says, is it by Yadrichaya Hetunava Bhavanto Jnate Yatha? Is it by chance Yadrichaya? Or there is a cause behind it. Bhavanto jnate yatha. I want to understand it from you. I don't want to go anywhere else, because it is you who know everything. Of course, my question is not about pure devotional service, but this question is going to be helpful in pure devotional service. That is why I am asking you. You may say that you go to somebody else, ask a Jnani and come back. No, I only ask you because you are the perfect person who have realized things. Please read the translation and purport.
O learned Brahmana, the transcendental spirit soul is different from the material body. Does he acquire the body accidentally or by some cause? Will you kindly explain this, for it is known to you? Purport. Maharaj Parishit, being a typical devotee, is not only satisfied by confirming the importance of hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam from the representative of Brahmaji by disciplic succession, but he is still more anxious to establish the philosophical basis of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the science of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as such, all questions that may arise in the mind of a serious student must be cleared by the statements of the authority. A person on the path of devotional service may inquire from his spiritual master all about the spiritual position of God and the living beings. From the Bhagavad Gita as well as from Srimad Bhagavatam, it is known that qualitatively the Lord and the living beings are one. The living being in the conditioned state of material existence is subjected to many transmigrations by continuous changing of the material body. But what are the causes of the material embodiment of the part and parcel of the Lord? Maharaj Parishit inquires about this very important matter for the benefit of all classes of candidates on the path of self-realization and the devotional service to the Lord. Indirectly, it is confirmed that the Supreme Being, the Lord, makes no such changes of body. He is spiritually whole, with no difference between his body and his soul, unlike the conditioned soul. The liberated living beings who associate with the Lord in person are also exactly like the Lord. Only the conditioned souls awaiting liberations are subjected to change of bodies. How was the process first begun? In the process of devotional service, the first step is to take shelter of the spiritual master and then inquire from the spiritual master all about the process. This inquiry is essentially for immunity to all kinds of offenses on the path of devotional service. Even if one is fixed in devotional service like Maharaj Parishit, he must still inquire from the realized spiritual master all about this. In other words, the spiritual master must also be well versed and learned so that he may be able to answer all his inquiries from the devotees. Thus, one who is not well versed in the authoritative scriptures and not able to answer all such relevant inquiries should not pose as a spiritual master for the matter of material gain. It is illegal to become a spiritual master if one is unable to deliver the disciple.
So now, in the next verse, he talks about the distinction between the living entity and the Supreme Lord. Because when it comes to description, there is a description that the Supreme Lord is having hands, legs, etc. Then, if you have some hand, it should be limited. If you have some legs, it should be limited. You should have some form. If you have some form, it should be limited. So I want to know that how is it that the Lord you described is different from the Purusha? What is the difference? That is being asked. Asidyad udarat padmam loka samsthana lakshanam yavanayam yavai purushaha tasya avayai pratak tavanna svaviti prokta samsthana avayan iva. Read the translation.
If the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whose abdomen the lotus stem sprouted, is possessed of a gigantic body according to his own caliber and measurement, then what is the specific difference between the body of the Lord and those of common living entities?
So what is the specific difference between the body of the Lord and the living entities? That is the question. Dvaita, is there any difference? Because from the description, somebody may say that this body is also material and the living entity's body is also material. Both have material bodies. Some may have big, some may have small, but ultimately it is made up of matter. Because we find that the body of the Lord is made up of matter. From the description we find to know. Then what is the distinction between these two? So read the purport also.
One should note how Maharaj Parikshit intelligently put questions before his spiritual master for scientific understanding of the transcendental body of the Lord. It has been described in many places before this that the Lord assumed a gigantic body like that of Karanodakshai Vishnu, from whose hair pores innumerable universes have generated. The body of Garbhodakshai Vishnu is described as sprouting the lotus stem, within which all the planets of the universes remain. And at the top of the stem is the lotus flower, on which Lord Brahma is born. In the creation of the material world, the Supreme Lord undoubtedly assumes a gigantic body, and the living entities also get bodies, big or small, according to necessity. For example, an elephant gets a gigantic body according to its needs, and so also an ant gets its body according to its needs. Similarly, if the personality of Godhead assumes a gigantic body to accommodate the universes or the planets of a particular universe, there is no difference in the principle of assuming or accepting a particular type of body in terms of necessity. A living being and the Lord cannot be distinguished simply by the difference in the magnitude of the body. So the answer depends on the specific significance of the body of the Lord as distinguished from the body of the common living being.
Now he says that I heard that Brahma came from the lotus. Now Brahma saw the Lord. Now Brahma had a body and the Lord also had a body. So I want to know the distinction between the two bodies, Brahma's body and the body of. Because these questions are very significant, because these questions are going to be the basis of the Chatushloki, which is going to come in the next chapter. Aja shajati bhutani bhutatma yad anugrahat tadarshe yena tadrupam nabi padma samudbhava. Nabi padma samudbhava. The nabi of Lord is padma samudbhava. Tadarshe yena tadrupam. He saw tadrupam, the Lord's. Ajaha shajati, the Lord, Brahma is called Aja, unborn. Bhutani bhutatma yadanugrahat. And now by the mercy, the Lord, Brahma could see the Lord. So, I want to know the distinction between the form of Brahma and the form of the Lord. Read the translation and purport.
Brahma, who was not born of a material source but of the lotus flower coming out of the navel abdomen of the Lord, is the creator of all those who are materially born. Of course, by the grace of the Lord, Brahma was able to see the form of the Lord. Purport: the first living creature, Brahma, is called Ajaha because he did not take his birth from the womb of a mother materially born. He was directly born from the bodily expansion of the lotus flower of the Lord. Thus, it is not readily understandable whether the body of the Lord and that of Brahma are of the same quality or different. This must also be clearly understood. One thing is, however, certain. Brahma was completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord, because after his birth, he could create living beings by the Lord's grace only, and he could see the form of the Lord. Whether the form seen by Brahma is of the same quality as that of Brahma is a bewildering question. Whether the form seen by Brahma is of the same quality as that of Brahma is a bewildering question. And Maharaj Parishit wanted to get clear answers from Shukdev Goswami. Brahma.
Sachapi yatra purusho vishwasthiti udbhavapyayah muktavatma mayam maisha sete sarva guhashaya. Now sa chapi yatra purusho vishwasthiti udbhavapyaya. Purusha is the cause of vishwasthiti udbhava, means is the cause of creation, maintenance and destruction. That Purusha. Na sachapi yatra purusho vishwasthiti udbhavapyaya muktvatma mayam maeshaha sete sarva guhashaya. So I want to know, where does he stay? Where does he stay? And also we heard that he has drishti, he sees the Maya. Now when he sees Maya, is he in direct touch with Maya? Is he beyond Maya? How is it so? Does he touch her? Because Maya is external energy. I want to know how the Purusha, he deals with Maya at the time of creation. Read.
Please also explain the personality of Godhead, who lies in every heart as the super soul and as the Lord of all energies, but is untouched by his external energy. Purport: undoubtedly the form of the Lord who was seen by Brahma must be transcendental. Otherwise, how could he simply look upon the creative energy without being touched? It is understood also that the same Purusha lies in the heart of every living entity. This also requires proper explanation.
Purusha vayaver loka sapala pura lokair amusya vaya sabalair iti sushruma. Avayavair means the limbs of the Purusha. The whole, all the different lokas have been described as Purusha Avayavair. Avayava means the limbs. Sapalaha Purvakalpitaha. Purvakalpita. Previously, Purvakalpita, you explained that all the Lokapalaha, Sapalaha, they are all the limbs of the Supreme Lord. Lokair Amushya Avayavaha Sapalair iti Shushruma. I want to know more. If there is something about it, please explain. I want to know more about it. How is it that the whole world, which is full of different varieties, are all described as avayavas of the Supreme Lord?
O learned Brahmana, It was formally explained that all the planets of the universe with their respective governors are situated in the different parts of the gigantic body of the Virat Purusha. I have also heard that the different planetary systems are supposed to be in the gigantic body of the Virat Purusha. But what is their actual position? Will you please explain that?
Read.
Also, please explain the duration of time between creation and annihilation, and that of other subsidiary creations, as well as the nature of time, indicated by the sound of past, present, and future. Also, please explain the duration and measurement of life of the different living beings, known as the demigods, the human beings, etc., in different planets of the universe.
Yeah. So it's text number
13.
13.
The 12 we have read.
Okay. Now about time. Kalasyanugatiryato lakshati vibhrityati yavayatyah karma atayo yadrishi dvijasattama.
O purest of the Brahmanas, please also explain the cause of the different durations of time, both short and long, as well as the beginning of time, following the course of action.
So about time, we come to know when the third canto. All these things come in third canto about time. About the divisions of time. Okay, 14th verse. Yasmin karma samavayo yatha yenopagrihyate gunanam guninam chaiva parinamam avipsitam. So the jivas have different desires, and these, according to the desires of the jivas, there are so many different kinds of bodies. Yasmin karma samavayo yatha yenopagrihyate. And because of the desires, different bodies are accepted. Gunanam guninam chaiva parinamam avipsitam. I want to know the different activities conducted by the living entities within the gunas, about the conditioned soul, guninam, and parinamanam avipsitam, and what are the reactions which are faced by the conditioned soul by acting according to the modes of natures. Read the translation.
Then again, kindly describe how the proportionate accumulation of the reactions resulting from different modes of material nature act upon the desiring living being, promoting or degrading him among the different species of life, beginning from the demigods down to the most insignificant creatures.
Okay, next. Bhupatala bhuvyoma graha nakshatra bhubratan sarit samudra dvipanam sambhavaschaidya okshanam. Now please speak about the bhu, and then patala, and then the different directions, the sky, the planets, nakshatranam, bhubrutanam, sarit, different rivers, and samudra, oceans, dvipanam, islands, sambhavas chaidya okasham, the creation of various inhabitants in different places, and ultimately how the jivas obtain different places. All questions, so many questions.
O best of the Brahmanas, please also describe how the creation of the globes throughout the universe, the four directions of the heavens, the sky, the planets, the stars, the mountains, the rivers, the seas, and the islands, as well as their different kinds of inhabitants take place.
What it has got to do with devotion, these questions? I want to know so many. He wants to get the news from different planets. What it has got to do with bhakti? Because different planets, there are different devotees, worshipping different forms of the Lord. Isn't it? That is what you want to know. Next. Pramananam mandakoshasya bhaya bhayantra vedata mahatam chanucharitam varnashrama vinischaya. Now, I want to know the dimensions of the universe. Pramananam. Andakoshasya bahya. Within the Andakosha, how much is the length and breadth, circumference? From this bahya, from there, Brahmanda and beyond also, I want to know about it. And not only that, Mahatam Chamu Charitam Varnashrama Vinischaya. I want to know about Charitam, Anucharitam, the stories or the lives of Mahatam, great devotees. And Varnashrama Vinischaya, and also the definition of Varnashrama. What does Varnashrama exactly mean? I want to know about it. So many questions. One question, two questions you ask, the speaker says, wait, one by one. All of a sudden, so many questions. Read the translation.
Also, please describe the inner and outer space of the universe by specific divisions, as well as the character and activities of the great souls, and also the characteristics of the different classifications of the castes and orders of social life.
What is the use of knowing the dimension of Brahmanda? If this Brahmanda is so big, and this Brahmanda is one of the multiple Brahmandas in the stomach of the Vishnu, then how big was the stomach of Vishnu? That is the reason. Yugani yugamanam cha dharmo yascha yuge yuge avatara anucharitam yadascha yatam hare.
Please.
Yugani yugamananam. Please describe about the yugas. And then their different lengths. How long is yuga? And the yuga dharmas. Not only that. Yuge yuge avataranucharitam. Describe about the yuga avatars of the Lord. And these yuga avataranucharitam yet ascharyatamam hare. They are all what? Very astonishing. Practically, Parikshit Maharaj, these questions, they go all the way up to how many cantos? How many cantos? Practically, all the cantos. Till the 9th canto. Practically, in the 9th canto, they go like this. Read.
Please explain all the different ages in the duration of the creation and also the duration of such ages. Also tell me about the different activities of the different incarnations of the Lord in different ages.
Yes. Next. Nrinam sadharano dharma savisheshascha yadrishaha shreyasinam rajarshinam cha dharma kricheshu jivatam. Speak about dharma. Sadharana dharma means dharma which is sadharana, or dharma for sadharana people, means ordinary people. And savisheshascha yadrishi. And also speak about the special dharmas, according to some special birth people have. And sadharana dharma, and which is special dharma. Both you should speak. And shreninam, rajarshinam. There are different levels of rajarishis. I want to know about their dharma. And dharmascha krichreshu jivatam. And for those people, when they are not able to perform their occupation, what is their responsibility? Read.
Please also explain what may generally be the common religious affiliations of human society, as well as the specific occupational duties in religion, the classification of social orders, as well as the administrative royal orders, and the religious principles for one who may be in distress.
Next. Tattvanam parisankhyanam lakshanam hetu lakshanam purusha adhana vidir yoga sadhyatikasya cha. Now, Tattvanam Parisankyanam Lakshanam Hetu Lakshanam. Now, Tattvanam, please describe about the elements. And Parisankyanam, and describe their Parisankyanam Lakshanam, their Lakshanas, their qualities. Earth, water, fire, what are their qualities? Qualities of Tanmatras, qualities of the senses, qualities of sound. I want to know about them. Hetu Lakshanam, that is Hetu Lakshanam, Tattva Lakshanam, 26th chapter of the third canto. It's all Tattva Lakshanam. And Purusharadhana Vidhir. And I want to know, how do you worship the Purusha avatar? And also, Yoga Syadhyatyatmikasya cha. I don't know about the different rules and regulations of yoga, Ashtanga yoga, etc. Read the translation.
Kindly explain all about the elementary principles of creation, the number of such elementary principles, their causes and their development, and also the process of devotional service and the method of mystic powers.
Yogeshwarair igatir lingabhangastu yoginam vedopaveda dharmanam itihasa puranayo. So Yogeshwarair Aishwarya Gatir. So those who are Yogeshwaras, practicing yoga, I want to know their gati, their destination. Lingabhangastu yoginam. How the yogis, they destroy their subtle body. Lingabhanga means destroy the subtle body. Also I want to know Vedopaveda Dharmanam. I want to know about Vedas, Upavedas, and Itihasas and Puranas. Read the translation.
What are the opulences of the great mystics and what is the ultimate realization? How does the perfect mystic become detached from the subtle astral body? What is the basic knowledge of the Vedic literatures, including the branches of history and the supplementary Puranas?
Samplavaha sarvabhutanam mikarmaha pratisankramaha ishta purtasya kamyanam trivargasya cha yo vidhi. So, please describe to me about Samplavaha sarvabhutanam. Sarvabhutanam samplava means the process by which the very living entity can be delivered. And Vikramaha Pratisankramaha, and those who are Vikrama, which are favorable for the process of bhakti, and something which is not favorable for process of bhakti. Ishtapurtasya kamyanam, and other processes by which one can satisfy their ishta, means their desire. The sacrifices by which they can satisfy their desire. Kamyanam trivargasya cha yo vidhi, and other processes of trivarga. Attaining trivarga means karma, that is moksha, what is Chaturvarga. We have karma, artha, kama, trivarga. Read.
Please explain unto me how the living beings are generated, how they are maintained, and how they are annihilated. Tell me also the advantages and disadvantages of discharging devotional service unto the Lord. What are the Vedic rituals and injunctions of the supplementary Vedic rites? And what are the procedures of religion, economic development, and sense gratification, sense satisfaction?
Yovanusainam sarga pashandasya cha sambhavaha atmano bandha moksho cha yavasthanam sarupataha. Just read the translation.
Please also explain how, merged in the body of the Lord, living beings are created. please also explain how, merged in the body of the Lord, living beings are created and how the infidels appear in the world. Also, please explain how the unconditioned living entities exist.
Next. Yathatmadantro Bhagavan Vikredya Atmamayaya Vrishuddhyava Yatha Mayam Udaste Sakshivat Vibhu. Now I want to know about Krishna. Yatatmatantro Bhagavan. He is totally independent. Atmatantraha. Then Vikridat Atmamayaya. He enters this world and does his pastime Vikridati by Atmamaya, by his internal potency. Vrishuddhyava Yatha Mayam Udaste Sakshivat Vibhu. And he does so many wonderful pastimes and he disappears. And how does he? Sakshivat Vibhu. Like a Sakshi, he is unattached. How is it so? He is unattached to things of this material world. Yeah, read the translation.
The independent personality of Godhead enjoys his pastimes by his internal potency, and at the time of annihilation gives them up to the external potency, and he remains a witness to it all.
Sarvametaccha Bhagavan Pruchchato me anupurvasha Tattvator Yah Udahrittam Mamune Prapannaya Manahamune. Prapannaya. So, Lord, he is asking, means Sukadeva Goswami, whatever I have asked you, please explain to me. And also, Sarvametaccha Bhagavan Pacchato me anupurvashaha. And whatever I have not asked, that also explain. Parikshit Maharaj does it twice, once here, once in 10th canto also. 10th canto also he asks 6 questions. And then he says, whatever I have asked you, please explain. Etat anyaccha shravyam me. Whatever I asked, please explain to me. But etat anyaccha, if at all is something else which I have not asked about, explain to me. Because tattvato arhas udahartum. Please explain to me in truth. And udahartum. You explain to me. Why? Prapannaya mahamane. I am completely surrendered to you. But whatever I asked, it is all without any proper sequence in it. Read.
O great sage, representative of the Lord, kindly satisfy my inquisitiveness in all that I have inquired from you and all that I may not have inquired from you from the very beginning of my questionings. Since I am a soul surrendered to you, please impart full knowledge in this connection.
Atra pramanam hi bhavan parameshti yatatmabhu apare chanutishtanti purvesham purvajaikartam. You are a perfect pramana. Atra pramanam hi bhavan. What kind of pramana you are? What kind of thought you are? Parameshri yathatma bhuhu. You are as good as Brahma himself. Apare chanudishtanti purvesham purvajaikratam. And I know that when you explain, you are going to explain my questions according to the previous acharyas and the different pastimes which have been done previously based on history. That means you explain these questions according to in the Puranic style.
O great sage, you are as good as Brahma, the original living being. Others follow customs only, as followed by the previous philosophical speculators.
न मे शवः परायन्ति ब्रह्मन् अस अन्नशनात् अमी पिबतोच्युतपीयूषम् अन्यत्र कुपिताद्विजात्. Read the translation.
O learned Brahmana, because of my drinking the nectar of the message of the infallible personality of Godhead, which is flowing down from the ocean of your speeches, I do not feel any sort of exhaustion due to my fasting.
Similar thing he says in the 10th canto. Naishadi dussahak shunmam tekto vibhadayet. Name ashavaha parayanti brahman. Ashavaha parayanti means without eating I am there, without drinking I am there. But my life affairs are not disturbed. Brahman, anyasmad ami. I am not disturbed by anyasmad, by the other trouble which I have. That is, I am going to leave the body in 7 days. That curse, that fear is also not there for me. So please tell me, pibato chutapiyusham anyatra kuvitad vijat. The Dvijat Brahmana's anger is also not disturbing me. So, pibato, please make me drink achyuta piyusham, the piyusha, the nectar of Krishna's pastimes. Please don't delay. Please talk about Krishna. Read the translation.
Purport,
Okay, read. 26.
Purport. O learned
Okay, done. Suta uvacha sa upamantrito rajña katayam iti satpate brahmartro vrisham prito vishnuratena samsadi. When Vishnurata, who is Vishnurata? Parikshit Maharaj. When he spoke, what happened? Upamantrito rajan katayamiti satpate brahmarato vrisham prito. Who is Brahmarata? Sukadeva Goswami. Vrisham pritaha means vrisham, very much, pritaha, very satisfied. Read.
Sutta Goswami said, thus Shukadeva Goswami, being invited by Maharaj Parishit to speak on the topics of Lord Shri Krishna with the devotees, was very much pleased.
Then, in return to Parikshit Maharaj's questions, what did Sukadeva Goswami say? Praha bhagavatam nama puranam brahma samhitam brahmane bhagavata proktam brahma kalpa upagate. So he spoke a scripture called Praha Bhagavatam Nama. He spoke Bhagavatam Nama Puranam, which is Brahma Samhitam, which is God Himself, which is the essence of all the Vedic literatures. Brahmane Bhagavata Proktam. It was spoken by whom? By God Himself, Bhagavataha. Spoken to Brahma. When did He speak? Brahma Kalpa Upagate. In the first Kalpa. Brahma Kalpa. Read.
He began to reply to the inquiries of Maharaj Parikshit by saying that the signs of the personality of Godhead was spoken first by the Lord Himself to Brahma when he was first born. Srimad Bhagavatam is the supplementary Vedic literatures, and it is just in the pursuance of the Vedas.
Now, last verse. Yad parikshit trishabah pandunam anupruchati anupurvena tat sarvam akyatum upajakrame. Sukadeva Goswami, he started explaining what all questions were asked by Parikshit Maharaj. And who is Parikshit Maharaj? He is Pandunam Manupruchati. Rishabha Pandunam, the greatest of all the Pandus. Anupuryena tat sarvam akhyatum upachakrame. Upachakrame means he just started, he began to speak. Now, 9th chapter starts with Sukadeva Goswami speaking. 2 chapters are there. It take 2 days because 9th chapter contains Chatushloki, 10 chapters contains 10 subject matters of Bhagavatam. So many questions were asked. It was like a waterfall of questions now. Hare Krishna. Rashyan Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Few days back we sent an email for all the Bhaktivedanta students telling about the future dates from I think so May, June, July, August till September. So I hope all of you saw the email. If anyone has any concern, you can please let us know. The dates have to be changed. Otherwise we'll consider that we'll continue with the same dates in the future. So our next class will be on Monday, 11 o'clock, same place. Monday to Thursday, 4 days we'll have. Thank you. 11 to 1.